Initially, it's sort of a funny new feeling. You jump every time the phone goes. You wake up thinking, oh, this might be the day, this might be the day. Later, it just becomes a chronic sort of thing. I think I said to you, it's like having a monkey on your shoulder all the time. Everything you do or say is qualified by when I've had my transplant. And because there is more and more of you diminishing every day, this business of having a transplant becomes probably what you're focusing on every minute of every day.
Hearty Towers in the grounds of Auckland's Green Lane Hospital. It's here that New Zealand's sickest patients wait for a replacement organ. Patients like Maggie, whose lungs are failing. She's waiting for a lung transplant, a transplant that may never come.
The thing I miss the most is not being able to interact with my grandchildren the same as I used to. They get heavy, I can't pick them up as easily. They do wonder why I have this extraordinary thing stuffed up my nose. And I just, little Rachel puts her hands up to be picked up, I can't pick her up, and I feel terrible having to say no. You feel as if everything you can't do, another little bit of you, has just been chopped off. And I just want to see what life is like when you don't have pulmonary hypertension. And I've never known what it's like, so...
Yeah, you haven't known.
I haven't known what it's like, so I'm just waiting to start my life. Yeah. Please.
If you're dying from organ failure, a transplant is the only thing that will save your life.
In New Zealand, there's about 350 people waiting for a kidney transplant, and they, on average, wait 2 to 3 years, some longer, and depending on the blood group of the recipient. There's usually about between 10 and 15 people waiting for a liver transplant, and between generally 5 and 10 people waiting for heart and lungs.
In the past year, surgeons in New Zealand have done 35 liver transplants, 111 kidney transplants, and just 4 heart transplants. Clearly, that's not enough to keep up with demand.
About a quarter to a third of patients die on the waiting list. We've had some die very close to, in fact, receiving the recipient operation, even coming into the hospital to have their operation before they've died. And that's an enormous tragedy.
You get to know these patients really quite well. You spend quite a bit of time with them, and they get listed. And I think with listing a patient for transplantation, it's like a contract or a promise to them that you will do your best, to get them an organ and get them through this process. I think one of the great things about transplantation in New Zealand at the moment is that it is pretty much state of the art. We can, despite fairly limited resources, achieve very good outcomes for all the organs that are transplanted here. We are very limited by the number of organs that are available, and that's our biggest problem.
Of the 28,000 people who die in New Zealand each year, only about 40 become organ donors. In New Zealand, we have one of the lowest donation rates in the world. Why is this? Ironically, the first reason is that our health system is becoming just too good.
Death from road trauma has probably halved in the last 15 years. Treatment of spontaneous brain hemorrhages increased or improved so that less people are dying from brain hemorrhages. So, we're trying to increase the donor rate in a climate where the potential number of people who could become donors is getting less.
The main source of organs for transplantation is young, fit patients who suffer massive brain damage from brain hemorrhages for serious accidents. But here's the catch. To become an organ donor, you have to die in an intensive care unit. We don't have intensive care units in every small town, so if that brain injury happens outside a main centre, your chances of reaching intensive care is slim. And even in the big hospitals, there's a shortage of intensive care beds.
I think the reason that we have a limited number of organs here is because a limited number of ICU beds, a limited number of available people to look after potential donors in the intensive care setting.
Of all the people who die in New Zealand each year, only 1,400 die in intensive care. So already our pool of potential donors is dramatically reduced. In addition, those hospitals are widely spread throughout the country.
And particularly in New Zealand, we have a huge issue with the transportation times, that in the South Island, to get a heart back up from Dunedin to Auckland City Hospital often takes 4 hours of travel time alone. That gives us 2 hours either side to actually have the heart removed and have it stitched into place and ready to go.
If I don't get my transplant, I guess I will die. People say to you, oh, what's the date for your transplant? Or, have you got a time yet? Or are you at the top of the list yet? And you sort of feel morally bound to point out to them that some person has to lose their life for me to get my life. And it's a very sobering thought.